Rebecca Mitchell, in Victorian Lessons on Empathy and Difference, published in 2011, stresses the fundamental distinction between the characters in works of art who are felt by the reader as the other, who can be known intimately, receiving themselves, and somehow with it create some kind of identification, and real people who can always remain eternal strangers, even if they live next to us, near to us. One could add, mainly when they are perceived as different, the other culturally and socially diverse. If we can get to know others through the work of art, even if inside the characters themselves are not known, recognized by each other, and if in our daily relationships we know it is difficult to get to know others, just like the characters inside the story, even if we know them, they don't know each other, what can a work of art contribute in terms of developing empathy and living with others? From the Greek en, inside, and pathos, feeling, empathy was in the ancient world the connection that united the Aedo to the public and that influenced poetry and declamation. From this acceptance, the idea of empathy was developed as a communion from the point of view of feeling, therefore of an affective type, through a process of relationship in which the I takes the place of the other. The meaning was thus extended to characterize a relationship capable of bearing fruit. If psychology linked the term to the ability to understand the feelings and thoughts of others, considering empathy a human endowment that must be exercised in order to allow a better understanding of the other, preventing conflicts and overcoming the negativity of relationships, the advances of neurophysiology and the development of knowledge linked it to mirror neurons, have opened up new possibilities in the field of understanding empathy. Mirror neurons, responsible for activating intersubjective relationships in the brain, without which there would be no cognitive development, also contribute to the establishment of social relationships that underlie the idea of community, as Antonio Gnoli writes. The brain has mechanisms that predispose man to sociability, according to the author, through fundamental components that feed them: language, action, the recognition that others are people like us, and imitation. Keith Oatley, in an article published in the magazine Trends in Cognitive Sciences called Fiction, Simulation of Social Worlds, following research that he was already making public, as in the Cognitive Science of Fiction, another good article from him, argues that the use of imagination increases the empathy, the ability to interpret the moods of others, and develops interaction skills. Considering that literature pampers our social world, it compares it to a flight simulator that helps man to improve the ability to have and maintain relationships. This is because the narrative works as a simulation of the I in the relationship with the others, improving the understanding of the state of soul of those around him, thus transforming himself. The stories, mainly as it was proved by the researchers of Oatley, when written with mastery, exploiting to the maximum the abilities of the language, involve the emotions and awaken the imagination through descriptions, the trait of the characters, the use of images. A character, in fact, does not need to be described in detail by the narrator because the reader is competent to complete the particulars, reconstructing their complexity. According to the psychologist, the person who makes the most effort in this simulation task is the one who can understand others more easily because he has trained himself to do it. Based on tests conducted by a team from the University of Toronto who studied the reactions and changes in the brain caused by reading, Oatley stresses the power of the reader's mind, which in the process completes details, suppresses faults, reconstructs complete images um, to form suggestions or from suggestions. The novel, the fable, the short story, a play, a film that tells a story, does have the power to pass fragments of consciousness from one individual to another. So, engaging in the simulative experiences of fiction literature can facilitate the understanding of others who are different from ourselves and can develop our capacity for empathy and social inference. In this sense, for Oatley, literature can help society, alleviating prejudices and increasing levels of empathy. As proof, he gives the example of Saffron Dreams, the book by Shaila Abdullah, which tells the story of a Muslim woman in America who proved to be very effective in alleviating the discrimination between ethnicities and stereotyped images that communities had of each other. Certainly, there are other voices, such as Gregory Curry's, that believe, however, that there is no convincing evidence to suggest that people become morally or socially better by reading narratives through empathy created with the characters or the situations explored. Uh, an article called "Does Great Literature Make Us Better?" question mark by 2013, published in the New York Times, is explicit, stating that there is little evidence that great literature morally improves us. But even if it not morally improves us, it is certain that literature can foster our and develop our ways to connect to the world and to connect to the others. And I think this is important, and we will see during this course, and I hope you will see that literature through emotions and to make us think and analyze the world can make us more empathic.